Silence creates space. And when you are no longer telling her what you feel, what you think, or what you will do next, she must interpret that space on her own. Of course, every woman is different. Silence won't produce the same reaction in everyone. But when someone grows accustomed to your attention, and that attention suddenly turns quiet, the shift can spark curiosity, uncertainty, reflection, and sometimes even fear of losing the bond. Here are 5 things she feels when you fall silent. Comment: silence is power. Number 1, she notices the change. The first thing she notices isn't your silence itself, but the abrupt shift in access to you. Because yesterday she could count on your message, your explanation, your attention, your effort, and your willingness to smooth over every awkward moment. But today there is empty space where all of that used to be. And that space forces her to recognize how much of the connection you were holding up. You know the scenario. She gives you a cold reply, leaves your message unread, grows distant for no apparent reason, or speaks to you as if your effort is expected rather than appreciated. And your immediate instinct is to restore the mood because you care about her. But each time you rush in to fix what she helped break, you teach her something dangerous. She can lessen her effort while yours keeps increasing. That is where silence alters the dynamic. You are not punishing her, manipulating her, or acting as if you don't care. You simply refuse to reward poor behavior with greater exertion. If she becomes distant, you grant her space. If she becomes disrespectful, you don't compose a lengthy explanation about why basic respect matters. If she takes hours or days to reply while expecting instant access to you, you stop arranging your life around her phone. This is discipline. You distinguish what you control from what you don't. You cannot determine whether she values you, whether she responds, whether she picks another path, or whether she grasps what she's forfeiting. But you can control your attention, your standards, your reactions, and the life you construct after she reveals who she is. That is where your power returns. She notices because the man who once panicked over distance no longer tries to close every gap she opens. The man who used to over-explain himself now states what needs to be said once and lets action speak the truth. She might call you cold, changed, difficult, or proud, but a woman does not receive unlimited emotional access to a man while offering him uncertainty in exchange. That is not love. That is an imbalance, and the longer you tolerate it, the more usual it becomes. Examine your own life carefully. How much sleep have you lost because her energy shifted? How often have you glanced at your phone hoping her name appears? How many times have you neglected your work, training, friends, goals, or peace because you're trying to figure out why she's suddenly acting differently? This is the moment to convert that pain into insight. Her conduct tells you where you stand, and your role isn't to force a different answer from her. Your role is to react with dignity. Put the phone aside, finish your work, train your body, take care of your responsibilities, spend time with people who respect your presence, and build something that exists whether she texts you or not. When you do this consistently, silence stops being something you deploy on her and becomes proof that you have mastery over yourself. She notices that shift because your attention is no longer automatic. If she wants closeness, she must now help create it. If she wants your time, she has to honor it. If she wants a place in your life, her deeds must align with her words. And if she refuses, you gain something more valuable than fleeting attention. You gain the truth. That truth may hurt, but it also liberates you from spending another year trying to earn what should naturally exist between two people. Your silence communicates that you are willing to lose a connection before you lose yourself within it. And once you truly live that way, your entire life begins to transform, because you stop measuring your worth by how warmly one woman treats you, and start measuring yourself by the standards you uphold when no one is offering you reassurance. Number 2, she starts to wonder. Once she recognizes that your old habit is gone, questions replace certainty, because she can no longer assume that one chilly message from her will provoke 3 warmer ones from you, that pulling away will compel you to prove yourself harder, or that treating your presence casually still guarantees your fidelity. She begins wondering what shifted, because she no longer receives constant proof that she remains at the center of your focus. She will wonder whether you are occupied, whether your priorities have altered, whether you finally noticed the imbalance, whether you are growing comfortable without her, and most crucially, whether the version of you who tolerated everything is gone. This is precisely where men undermine their own progress by growing uneasy with the silence and hurrying back to explain it. Do not do that. You don't need to announce that you're focusing on yourself. You don't need a theatrical farewell. You don't need to post indirect messages hoping she sees them. You simply live differently. Your discipline becomes apparent through consistency, not performance. You wake up with something significant to do. You guard your time. You develop your body, finances, abilities, friendships, purpose, and peace. You become harder to distract because your life contains ambitions greater than awaiting one woman's notice. This matters because if her silence can ruin your entire day, she has excessive control over your inner world, and no relationship becomes healthy when one person dictates the emotional climate of the other. Ask yourself a tough question. When did her attention become proof that you are enough? Maybe you start checking whether she viewed your story. Maybe you revisit old messages looking for the exact moment her tone changed. Maybe you compare how quickly she replied before with how slowly she replies now. Maybe she offers you just enough warmth to keep you interested, then grows distant again when she sees you are emotionally invested. That pattern keeps a man trapped because he starts striving for small crumbs of attention that once came naturally. Your silence breaks that cycle because you stop reacting to every fluctuation in her behavior. If she's warm, you enjoy the conversation without losing your composure. If she is cold, you do not crumble. If she vanishes, you keep moving. If she returns, you evaluate her by consistency rather than excitement. This is where wisdom enters your relationships. You stop judging women only by what they say in emotional moments, and start observing repeated conduct. Words can promise anything. Patterns reveal priorities. If she tells you that you matter, but repeatedly treats you like an option, trust the pattern. If she says she's busy, but somehow finds time for everything except offering you basic effort, take note. If she only becomes interested when you pull away, do not instantly reward that interest by reverting to your old position. Let consistency prove intention. This is not revenge against her. It is protection for you. A woman who genuinely values the connection won't need endless games to show basic care. And a woman who only values your attention when it disappears gives you important information about what she actually wants from you. Either answer benefits you. That is why your silence becomes useful. It gives reality enough room to reveal itself. Instead of asking, "How do I make her think about me?" ask, "Why am I giving so much mental space to someone whose actions leave me confused?" That question changes everything, because now the focus returns to the only life you truly control, your own. Let her wonder while you work. Let her think while you grow. Let her decide what she wants while you decide what you will accept. If she comes closer with genuine effort, you stay grounded and observe whether that effort endures. If she remains distant, you keep moving without pleading for an explanation. Either way, you are no longer trapped in uncertainty, because your future is not waiting inside her next message. Your future is being built every day you choose discipline over impulse, standards over fleeting attention, and self-mastery over the need to be chosen. And if these questions are forcing you to examine your relationships, your standards, and the amount of power you surrender for a woman's attention, the Stoic relationship blueprint was created for men ready to change that. Packed with timeless Stoic principles that help you manage your emotions, protect yourself, respect, understand relationship dynamics, and begin transforming how you live immediately. It's also available as an audiobook, so you can listen to this life-changing knowledge while taking a walk, jogging, training, or simply clearing your head. And once it's yours, it remains yours, giving you something powerful to return to whenever confusion, weakness, or old patterns try to pull you back. The link is waiting in the comments, and if you're serious about becoming the man who no longer needs a woman's attention to know his value, this is knowledge you can carry with you for life. Number 3. She feels your absence. Your absence becomes tangible when she reaches for the attention she once received without thought, and discovers that it is no longer waiting for her on demand. Because when you are always the first to text, the first to check in, the first to ask what's wrong, the first to mend tension, and the first to ensure she's okay after she gives you cold energy, your presence slowly becomes something she expects instead of something she cherishes. That is the painful part men rarely want to admit. You can give so much that your effort becomes invisible. She grows used to you being there regardless of how she behaves, so she has no reason to question whether her actions are pushing you away. She can leave you on read, return hours later with a terse reply, cancel plans without much worry, offer affection when it suits her, then become distant when you seek clarity, because somewhere within the dynamic, she believes you will remain available. Then you become silent, and suddenly the pattern she relies on is gone. She checks her phone, and your name isn't there. She notices you aren't asking where she is. She realizes you aren't trying to repair the mood she generated. She posts something and waits to see whether you react, but you are busy living. This is where your absence starts creating questions that another paragraph from you never could. Understand this clearly. The goal is not to make her suffer. The goal is to stop making yourself suffer just to keep her comfortable. There is a vast difference. Silence becomes potent when it arises from acceptance rather than calculation. You accept that you cannot force a woman to value you, and you stop wasting your energy trying to manage what exists inside her mind. You control what belongs to you: your response, your time, your attention, your standards, your body, your work, your money, your purpose, and the direction of your life. This is where you turn the entire situation to your advantage. Because instead of sitting at home staring at your phone and wondering whether she misses you, you ask a harder question. What has this situation exposed about me? Why does one woman's distance? Why am I giving someone priority when her actions keep placing me somewhere near the bottom of hers? Why am I afraid of losing a connection that keeps costing me peace? Those questions hurt, but they also wake you up. Her absence from your day creates room for you to return to yourself. Take the hour you spend thinking about her and put it into training. Take the energy you spend checking her social media and put it into your work. Take the money you spend trying to impress someone who gives little back and invest it into your future. Take the nights you spend waiting for a message and use them to build a skill that changes your income, your confidence, or your options. This is how pain becomes fuel without turning you bitter. You don't hate her. You simply stop making excuses for behavior that drains you. If she cares, she will eventually notice that your attention is no longer guaranteed, and she will have a choice. Bring genuine effort or accept the distance. If she only returns because she misses being wanted, you don't confuse that with love. Watch what she does after she gets your attention again. Does she become consistent, respectful, and clear, or does she become warm just long enough to ensure you are still available before turning cold again? That distinction protects you from repeating the same cycle. A few sweet messages do not erase months of inconsistency. One emotional conversation does not prove change. Let time expose intention. This is where discipline protects your heart better than hope ever can. You stop falling for potential and start responding to reality. If she shows up, you observe. If she disappears, you continue. If she respects your boundaries, you notice. If she tests them, you enforce them without anger. Your silence is not begging her to return. It is giving both of you enough space to reveal the truth. And here is what changes inside you when you stay with that discipline. Eventually, the question is no longer whether she misses you. You begin asking whether the life you are building even has room for someone who only recognizes your value after losing access to it. That is a completely different level of self-respect. You're no longer sitting in emotional darkness hoping she chooses you. You're choosing the standards by which anyone gets close to you. She can miss your attention, your support, your humor, your loyalty, your presence, and the way you once made her a priority. But missing those things doesn't automatically qualify her to receive them again. Access to you comes with responsibility. If she wants your presence, she must bring a presence worth receiving. If she wants loyalty, she must live with loyalty. If she wants consistency, she must give consistency. And if she cannot, your absence becomes permanent, not because you are trying to teach her a lesson, but because you finally learn yours. Number 4. She questions her place. When your silence continues, and you don't break simply because she becomes distant, she starts questioning the position she once believed was secure, because before this shift, she knew exactly how much influence she had over your attention. She becomes cold and you ask what's wrong, she pulls away and you move closer. She gives less and you work harder. She takes hours to reply and you respond within seconds. And every one of those reactions tells her that regardless of how uncertain she makes the connection, you remain emotionally available. Then one day that certainty vanishes. You are not rude. You are not posting bitter messages. You are not trying to make her jealous. You simply stop performing for a place in her life. Now she has to confront a question she never needed to ask while you were constantly proving yourself. Do I still have the same place in his life? That question matters because certainty changes behavior. When someone believes your attention is guaranteed, effort can decline. When access has standards, actions suddenly matter again. This doesn't mean every woman plays games, and it does not mean you treat women with suspicion. It means you stopped giving relationship-level devotion to a woman whose behavior gives you uncertainty. Men get trapped here because they confuse patience with endless tolerance. You tell yourself she's stressed, busy, confused, healing, afraid, or going through something. And sometimes those explanations are true. But there comes a point where understanding her circumstances becomes an excuse for ignoring your own reality. You are the one lying awake. You are the one wondering why the warmth disappears. You are the one trying to decode a woman who could simply communicate clearly if keeping the connection mattered enough to her. Compassion doesn't require self-abandonment. You can understand her and still decide that her behavior is unacceptable for your life. That is maturity. Your silence gives you the space to make that decision without emotion controlling every move. Instead of reacting immediately, you observe. Instead of believing promises, you watch patterns. Instead of asking her repeatedly where you stand, you look at where her actions place you. If she wants you in her life, there will be effort. If she respects you, there will be consideration. If she values the connection, you won't need to drag basic communication out of her every week. And if she only becomes attentive when she senses you slipping away, be careful. A sudden increase in attention can mean she values you, but it can also mean she values the comfort of knowing you are available. Those are not the same thing. This is why you don't immediately hand everything back the moment she sends, "Hey stranger," or suddenly starts liking your posts, calling late at night, asking why you have changed, or acting affectionate after days of distance. You stay grounded. You respond according to what you genuinely want, but you don't abandon your standards because your emotions become excited. Let her actions build trust again. Let consistency answer the questions attraction cannot. You don't punish her for the past, but you also don't pretend the past never happened. This is where men transform the entire situation. Instead of using silence as a trick to regain a woman's attention, you use the space to regain authority over your own life. You build days that don't depend on her mood. You create routines that make you stronger. You keep promises to yourself. You handle your responsibilities before checking whether she has replied. You stop treating your phone like a machine that decides whether today is a good day. Think about how much stronger your life becomes when one woman's message cannot determine your confidence. Think about how differently you carry yourself when you know that losing someone who doesn't meet your standards is not the end of your life. That is the inner position you are building. You cannot control whether she chooses you, but you can become a man who refuses to betray himself just to keep being chosen. And once she sees that, she understands that her place in your life is not protected by history, attraction, beauty, promises, or the amount of emotion you once had for her. Her place is protected by how she treats the connection now. That will sound harsh to anyone who benefits from you having weak boundaries, but healthy relationships require two people who both understand that love doesn't cancel accountability. If she wants a meaningful place beside you, she has to act like that place matters. If she repeatedly treats you as temporary, you stop offering permanent loyalty. If she gives confusion, you don't spend months translating it into hope. If she disappears and returns whenever she wants, you don't keep the door permanently open simply because you miss her. Your life is not a waiting room for someone deciding whether you're worth choosing. And this is where the deepest shift happens. While she questions her place in your life, you begin questioning whether she deserves that place at all. That question changes the balance inside you, because you stop viewing her as the prize you are terrified to lose, and start viewing the relationship as something both people must qualify for through character, consistency, respect, and effort. You still care. You still have emotions. You simply refuse to let those emotions overrule what her behavior keeps showing you. That is self-command. That is how silence turns confusion into clarity, and that clarity becomes the beginning of a life where you no longer beg anyone to recognize the value of having you in it. Number 5. She sees your strength. She sees your strength when your silence does not collapse the moment she gives you a little attention again. Because this is where your real discipline is tested. She sends a casual message after days of distance, suddenly watches everything you post, becomes warmer, asks why you are quiet, or gives you just enough affection to see whether she still has the same access to you. And the old version of you wants to rush back, because part of you has been waiting for that moment. But you do not let temporary emotion make permanent decisions for your life. You slow down and observe. You ask yourself whether her behavior actually changes or whether she simply notices that your attention is no longer guaranteed. There is a difference between a woman wanting you and a woman wanting proof that she can still have you whenever she chooses. Learn that difference because it will save you months of confusion. If she ignored your needs when you were available, but suddenly becomes interested when you become silent, do not immediately call that love. Watch what happens after she receives your attention again. Does she remain consistent? Does she communicate clearly? Does she respect your time? Does she bring effort without needing another period of distance to wake her up? This is where you judge actions instead of becoming intoxicated by words. Your silence is not designed to control her. It teaches you to control yourself. You cannot decide what she thinks about you, but you decide what behavior receives access to your life. That principle changes everything. You stop sending emotional paragraphs because she acts cold. You stop checking your phone every few minutes. You stop treating her mood as an emergency you must solve. You stop abandoning your work, sleep, training, friendships, and purpose because one woman becomes uncertain about you. Ask yourself something uncomfortable. If her attention disappears tomorrow, does your direction disappear with it? If the answer is yes, this situation is exposing exactly where you need to grow. Build a life that remains strong whether she stays or leaves. Keep your promises to yourself when nobody is watching. Control your response when your emotions demand action. Accept what you cannot control without begging reality to become different. When she sees that you can care about her without depending on her, she sees a man whose peace is not available for anyone to play with. And whether she respects that, dislikes it, returns, or walks away becomes secondary, because the greatest change is happening inside you. You are no longer asking, "How do I make her choose me?" You are asking, "Does the way she treats me deserve a place in the life I am building?" That question puts your dignity back where it belongs. Your silence then becomes more than the absence of words. It becomes proof that you can lose attention without losing direction, lose access to her without losing yourself, and walk forward without needing a woman who treats you as optional to suddenly confirm your worth. If you are serious about changing the way you handle women, relationships, silence, boundaries, and your own emotions, don't let this become another video that inspires you for 10 minutes before you return to the same patterns. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint course gives you the deeper system to put these principles into action and rebuild the way you carry yourself. And if you prefer learning at your own pace, you can still get the ebook or audiobook, giving you lasting access to this knowledge whenever you need to reset your mind, strengthen your standards, or remember who you are becoming. If you're ready to get the book, comment, "I choose strength." The links are in the comments, and the longer you wait, the longer the same habits get another chance to control your life. Start now, because the man you become from here depends on what you choose to do with what you just learned.